Welcome back for another episode. Do me a favor before we get started. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you share the channel with anybody that's an NBA fan. So, this video, as you see, is a game 4 reaction. A game that the San Antonio Spurs won by a score of 103 to 82. A dominating performance, to say the least. This game started off with the Spurs going on an early run. OKC was stuck on 8 points for a while off of 4 Hardenstein floaters. Amazing shots, by the way. Some tough floaters that he was shooting over Wemby, and they were cashing to start the game. He led OKC in scoring through I think the first quarter and a half with 12 points, and then we went to the second quarter. It was kind of nip and tuck in that second quarter. OKC could not get past like a 7.5 point deficit. And then Wemby hit an amazing half court shot to send the game into halftime, and the Spurs were up 12. At that point, it just felt like the Spurs were just gonna win tonight. Like it was just one of those moments. Like sometimes you have those feelings in those in certain NBA games where the ball is just going in one team's favor and not in the others. After he hit that half court shot, I was like, this might be the Spurs night. They came right out in the third quarter. I think it was Wiggins who or Isaiah Joe, one of the two, hit a 3-pointer immediately. And I was like, okay, maybe. Next possession and one Wemby. And from there, the Avalanche just kept going and kept going and kept going. And it got up to a 25-point lead. And it was like a 20-point game, I would say midway through the fourth. And Coach Dagenhall just waved the white flag. So the takeaways from this game tonight, my biggest takeaway, to be honest with you, is OKC could not score tonight. If you look at the box score, each quarter kind of went like the last. The first two quarters, they scored 19 points each. And then the third and fourth quarter, they scored 22 points each. So they didn't have a quarter over 23 points tonight. And that's kind of concerning, especially in a game where they were down AJ Mitchell and they were down Jalen Williams, J-Dub. So that leads me to my next takeaway. My next takeaway is this series might be over if J-Dub and AJ can't play another game. Because it was very obvious, maybe halfway through the first half, but for sure in the second half, Shai needed somebody else to help with ball handling duties, and there was no one else to help. Throughout the course of this series, AJ has been impactful. J-Dub in the game and a half that he played, he was impactful. And they also were just doing things where helping Shai get rest off the ball was huge. And now he does not have that blanket. And it's kind of another thing that's kind of concerning me for OKC. They don't have anybody else outside of Shai now that can create off from the perimeter, as well as somebody that can just keep the defense honest at all times. Game 3, it was Jared McCain who got loose and got really hot. And tonight he could not do that. Jalen Williams, the big off the bench, he was making threes in game 3. Today he airballed a wide open 3 from the top of the key. And it was just like, yeah, it's just not OKC's night. And then my mind immediately went to maybe they've had their games like for the series. Like role players usually get you a game in the series. Alex Caruso helped them get game 2. Game 3, it was Jared McCain and Jalen Williams off the bench. But tonight, the Spurs just were not having it. Stephon Castle was amazing. Vassell has some amazing plays in transition, defensively as well. Now, Julian Champagnie, if he can find his jump shot, this series would be over by now. But he cannot make a 3 to save his life. And unfortunately, that's his role. So we got a lot more Harrison Barnes minutes tonight that we usually haven't got. Carter Bryant, he was trying. There was a play, I think, in the third quarter where the first half he had already, like, you could see coach was like, all right, I'm going to try this out. But if it doesn't work, you're coming out. So he pulled him early. And then the third quarter, they started to get a run going. So he wanted to give him a little more leeway. And there was a play where it was a fast break. And his immediate reaction was to slow down. But coach was like, go, go, go. So he kept going and he turned it over. And then he went down and made a bad play on defense and got yanked. And there's a video of him on the sidelines looking like he's about to cry. And Wemby has to like hold him. It's like, it's all right, bro. It'll be all right. But he's been having a tough series. I mean, he's a rookie. That's understandable. De'Aaron Fox was amazing tonight. Uh, he had a double double. He was controlling the pace. One of the things that I did notice that the Spurs have like been it's been a key to their attack this series, and it's helped a whole lot more that Fox is back and they have Harper again. Is they do not want the OKC Thunder to set up in their half court defense. So every time they get the ball, they are flying. Whoever gets the rebound, they're kicking it out. Mind you, that double double for Fox was not assists, it was rebounds. He was rebounding the ball like crazy. And by him getting those rebounds, they were able to push and transition even more, even more. So Castle will get a rebound. He's like quickly, either he's looking to push or he's looking to get it up. Champagny, Wemby, Fox, Fasel, like everybody that was getting rebounds, you could see there's an emphasis in their game plan to attack OKC in transition. Now, what makes that easier is you have a 7'5" alien on your team who tonight scored 33 points, but it felt like 40. I'm not gonna lie. Also, he had 3 blocks, but in typical Wemby fashion, it felt like more blocks just because the way that he just shifts how they play how they play offense. Like, you get nothing in the paint when Wemby is on the floor. And tonight I did notice in that first quarter, Mitch was like, either Mitch had that idea or Wemby did go up to him. I don't know if that was what they were talking about, but they did have a moment where it was like, okay, I'm not coming out at my usual time. So he stayed in the first quarter a little bit longer than usual, and it paid off because they had a double-digit lead for a majority of the first quarter. Majority of the second half, they were up double digits. So, as I was saying, Wemby had an amazing game. Um, he was just having his way again. And we're 4 games in, and I know my last video, I made a video about who's the best player in the NBA. I think we're at that point where it's like, it might be Wemby, man. Like, seriously, might be Wemby. I gave Shai the edge, and it was more so because the mental and physical, like, endurance aspect. But when you see Wemby do what he's doing, he had like 29, I think it was 29 minutes. He had his 31 of his 33 points in the first 29 minutes on the court. It's like, there's nothing you can do. There's literally nothing you can do. When he has his mind made up that I'm going to be aggressive on offense. And I do like, uh, I would say this is another takeaway of mine. In game 3, I did notice, and I'm pretty sure everybody noticed this, because it's one of those things that frustrates you. Like, it makes you frustrated, like, even though you're not a fan, but just to see how it plays out. There was too long of stretches in game 3 where the Spurs were not even looking for Wemby. And then you could see coming into game 4, they had an emphasis, like a major emphasis on, we're going to get Wemby going. And throughout the game, they stuck with that emphasis. Like, sometimes, like, you go away from it, the defense kind of like forces your hand. They're trying to get other guys to beat them instead of Wemby. But tonight, they were just adamant about, hey, this is our guy. We're gonna find our guy, and we're gonna live or we're gonna die by him doing what he does. And tonight, he dominated on both ends, and he had his teammates come along with him on both ends. Like, This is where it's starting to get scary for me as a Laker fan. Because I'm sitting here watching this game and I'm like, man, we do not have the athletes to compete with these dudes. Neither team. There was a stretch in the game in the first half where it was like nobody can score. Not because they like are bad at scoring. It's the defense was just amazing at the rim. The defense was amazing in transition. The defense was amazing at the point of attack. Like these two teams have something that the rest of the league just lacks right now. And that's multiple wings or perimeter players that can do everything offensively and defensively at a high level. Like not too many teams have that. Even with the Knicks, who are up 3-0 in their series against the Cavs. You take those two teams, the Cavs and the Knicks, they have wings that can get with you defensively. They don't have a full load of perimeter players that can lock down on defense. With Jalen Brunson out there, Shamet has gotten better, but their best player is Jalen Brunson, and he's food. Like there's just no weaknesses on the other two teams. The Cavs, the same thing. Donovan Mitchell, James Harden. We seen what Brunson was doing to Harden in Game 1 of that series, and throughout the series, basically. Um, but these guys, the Spurs and the Thunder, just possess something that no other team in the NBA possess, and that's top to bottom guys that can do it on both ends, and they can be like, how do I want to say this? Not unicorns, but they could be chameleons. Where De'Aaron Fox's game is not, hey, you stick around on the perimeter, wait for a grenade to come your way, and make us some over the top shot making. That's not really his game, but he's capable of doing that. And if you ask him to do it, he can pull it off. Like that's part of being a chameleon. The only chameleon they probably don't have yet on their roster, well, there's two. I'll take that back. There's two in their rotation that have been struggling to say the least. Carter Bryant and Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson, he had a solid game for the standard that he set in this series. He was not amazing, but he also wasn't trash. So he did brick a wide open three, but we won't talk about that because Champagnie hit one off the side of the goal as well. So anyway, their versatility is what scares me as a Laker fan and which makes me hope and really pray that Rob or whoever's running the GM duties this summer for the Lakers see this series and see we need those type of guys. But back to the teams at hand. I feel like the Spurs have gained the edge, especially if J Dub and AJ are not going to play, like I said before. If those two are out, then I'm sorry. All bets are off. This series is low key over because the adjustment that the Spurs also did make is they stopped the doubling of Shai for no reason. Game 1, game 2, game 3. Game 3 it was really bad. The rotations were so off. But I think that's because OKC knew what was happening, so they adjusted and were ready for it. But they were doubling Shai like just out the gate, like the Lakers were. But Jared McCain got going, Jalen Williams got going, Caruso kept it going, and they were able to just carve that defense up. Now tonight, Mitch was like, "Nah, we're not gonna do that. We got Vassell, we got Castle, we've got Fox, we got Champagne, we have Wemby. We're gonna just play this straight up. We'll give help, but not. We won't overdo it." So tonight it was Shai make some difficult shots, or pass it to your teammates who don't have a real advantage, and that's kind of what we saw tonight. And it didn't help that OKC could not make a three. If I'm not mistaken, they scored, I want to say 12 points from the 3-point line. Let me double check that. Okay, they got two of them late in garbage time. They hit 6 threes tonight. They were stuck on 4 for the longest. and San Antonio only hit 9, but their attack was mainly in the paint. They scored 50 points in the paint, and they were getting to the free throw line over and over and over and over and over. So I think the adjustment that won the night is San Antonio stopped the doubling of Shea, like over, I would say over doubling, because they were going no matter what they were sending to. And it kind of didn't make sense because they have great point of attack players. Also, guys who were in OKC holding their own one on one with Shea. So it was kind of confusing that they went all in on that strategy, but it backfired and they said, "All right, we learned from that." And then the other major thing was they kept going to Wemby, kept looking for Wemby. There was a play in transition. Vassell had a dunk. He threw it behind the back just so Wemby could get a dunk out of it. So like there was an emphasis on, hey, get the big fella going and also keep him going throughout the game. And that was pretty cool to see. But as far as where we're headed for game 5, it's going to be really interesting to see what adjustments Dagnall makes and if any are possible without AJ and J Dub. So I'm curious to see if they're gonna play first of all, and then if they don't play, whew, it's gonna be a slugfest for the OKC Thunder offensively. And unfortunately, I'm starting to lean more Spurs in 6. To come into the series, I was kind of back and forth on Spurs in 6 or Oklahoma City in 7. But that was with J Dub and AJ Mitchell perfectly fine. Or so we thought. But the way that this game went tonight kind of gives me a idea of how the rest of the series could go without those two guys. And that is not a good sign for Shea because then San Antonio can just go all out. They can wear him out, and once he's worn out, if he doesn't have an amazing performance over the top shot making, then OKC's chances just aren't great. Because against the Lakers, he was able to get away with passing it off, and Chet will go off. Chet's not gonna do that in this series. We've just being honest. Chet is not gonna have his way in this series at all. So it was McCain in game 3. I don't think he's gonna have another night like that. Even if you watch the game tonight, you could see that they were like kind of more locked in on him individually, and they were taking him serious tonight, and that didn't work. Caruso, did he even attempt a 3-pointer tonight? Alex Caruso off the bench. He attempted one shot. It was a 3-pointer. No, I take that back. He attempted one shot. It was not a 3-pointer. He was 0 for 1 in 14 minutes. So he kind of got played off the floor because they stopped guarding him with Wemby. Amazing adjustment. And at that point, it's, hey, Alex, do something with the ball in your hands. And that's really not his game for the most part. Without an advantage. That's a tough thing to ask Alex Caruso to do. And yeah, the Spurs just came out and they were ready. And you could see early on they had that fight. Now they did have that same fight in game 3, but OKC just like got settled in and started attacking off the doubles. And from there, like everybody just started getting a rhythm and it was lights out. But tonight, that was not the case. That was far from the case. So I'm again interested to see if AJ Mitchell is going to be able to play in game 5, if J Dub's going to be able to play in game 5. I kind of feel like they're out for the series, but of course, OKC won't say that because why would you at this stage? But if they don't play, ooh, I think this series is over. And I can see San Antonio going to OKC and doing the same thing they did tonight because it wasn't like they had some hot shooting night because they were at home. They only made 9 of 33 3-pointers. So, like, they can do that on the road. And their defense travels. And as you've seen in game 1 and game 2, they are very comfortable playing in OKC. Not too many teams are comfortable playing there, but they are definitely comfortable playing there. And they limit their turnovers. That might be the key of this series thus far. Having Fox back, having everybody going back to their natural spots, Harper off the bench, and having what the 4 or 5 ball handlers that they have all together has helped so much more. In game one, Castle had to do so much with the ball in his hands. He had what 12 turnovers, 11 turnovers, something crazy. Game two, I think he had 9 or 10 turnovers again. And then the last 2 games, he's toned it down, but that's because Fox is like actually back and in the rotation. And Fox and Harper actually are looking more like themselves physically. Fox did have that scare in game three, but he looked fine in game four. And I don't think Fox had a turnover tonight, actually. Did he? Let's see. De'Aaron Fox did not have a turnover tonight. Castle had 1 turnover, 6 assists. Shout out to him. So their major key has been the turnovers have been going down drastically game by game by game. And tonight I think they had 13. Game three they had 15. But the first 2 games they were in the 20s. And I think today was the first time that they forced OKC into 20 plus turnovers. So yeah, man, it's crazy. They're both of these teams defensively just have gears that I don't think anybody else in the league has. And the fact that you see them doing it to each other this way, like the games look rough and rugged, and at times it's like, what is going on right now? Because it's a fight. And when you have 2 great defensive teams, like that's usually how it's gonna go. So I'm ready to see how game 5 goes. Uh Game 6. We know we're for sure getting 6 at this point. Potentially a game 7. We don't know yet. But game 4 was really, really interesting, man. And shout out to the Spurs doing what they had to do, tying the series up 2-2. And we're headed off to OKC. So I guess I'll see y'all after game 5. Peace.